Alright guys, just very quickly once again, a bit like last week's video, the audio at times today suffers. While I have figured out the problem, unfortunately it did affect a couple of vlogs, so apologies for that. It sounds like I've got a mobile phone a bit too close to myself, but actually it's something to do with the cutout with the wind noise on the XT4. Anyway, let's get back to the video. And we've crossed the border and we've headed into Donegal. Hope you enjoy. Well, good morning and welcome to Donegal. Yes, we've made a break for the border and we're travelling around this area for the next couple of days, I wish, couple of weeks. Before we started our travels, about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I used to run residential landscape photography workshops in this area, and I love this beach that I'm walking towards. Now, there were a couple of reasons for that. One, you can probably see out in the distance, a bunch of sea stacks. Now, the big ones close to the beach are further along. And two, the coloured stones. Now, I don't think those sea stacks are going to work in the normal way today because very, very, very calm. No sort of water movement around those whatsoever. But hopefully the coloured stones. Now, looking out to the west, and it's not looking too promising with the light, but anyway. And of course, I haven't been here in 18 months, so the chances are the sea stacks have fallen down and some blighter has made off with the coloured stones for their garden project. Anyway, we'll wander along and as usual, seize what we can seize. And by the way, this is the second time I've recorded this intro because the first one I just randomly deleted. Haven't had any coffee this morning, so this could go all over the place. I did forget how difficult it was to walk on this beach. Literally you sink up to your ankles in tiny, tiny pebbles, and actually sort of larger pebbles as well, of which I think I've got a handful in my shoe, in my boot. So what time is it now? 5:10. Sunrise is in 20 minutes. You can kind of normally tell when you're not really going to get sun at sunrise, especially when we have such heavy laden clouds above. I know you can't really see that blowing out behind me, but we're sort of pretty much socked in. Now there are some gaps out to the west, but normally by now, if there was sort of light on the horizon, I would have expected some of these clouds to have started taking on some colour. So I don't think we're going to get light at sunrise, but that's okay. The amount of potential on this beach below your feet and with rocks. Now, ideally, we would have had a slightly higher tide, but a higher tide. We are now right at low tide, but you got to play with what you're given, because of course the tide swoops around sort of all these rocks and all these little rock pools and stuff. So I think I'm gonna wander off here and see whether I can find something, I guess, a little bit more intimate. Just because I don't think we're going to get any great light at sunrise. But also, I have an idea of maybe a composition should sort of light really start to sort of break through. And of course, because I do see some gaps out behind me here, out to the west, we are going to get some light at some point. Famous last words. So be ready for maybe a bit of a wider scene as well. Right. Well, step one, take 17,000 tiny pebbles out of my boot. Very difficult to walk on. but rather beautiful, eh? Oh my dodgy knees. Still shooting with this ridiculous clampy thing, but at least, unlike last week's video, I actually brought the little thing with me, so I'm not having to use the ridiculous vlogging tripod. Anyway, so it's about 2 minutes before sunrise, and as I thought, no light. If anything, the small bit of sort of nice light that we had has even been snuffed out, which is potentially worrying because it might mean that we have a little bit of rain. There was a suggestion there could be some sort of rain in the air, so it's a phenomenal beach though. I kind of had set up here just in case there was a little gap. Obviously we have quite a big clump of rock out on the horizon, and we've also got some little pools of water that are taking on just some lovely sort of blue hour light, but even the light that we had has kind of been taken away, snuffed out. So I really do think it is time to look for some more intimate scenes, and you know we need some better light than this even for those. Obviously don't want direct sunlight on the subject, especially when you're going for those intimate scenes, but as I said, it just seems to have, just while I was setting up there, things just dulled down just a touch. There's even some rain out on the horizon there, so anyway, I might go ahead and shoot this scene anyway, and then we'll go look for something else. So found myself a lovely little intimate scene, and actually just as I did that, now it seems to be going away now, but there's some lovely, I'm not sure whether there's maybe a bit of a sort of a weather system out there, but it, sort of in behind that sort of rock, just glowed pink. Let me just grab a quick iPhone-y shot. I'm sticking with my guns. So final lovely little scene here. Again, just making use of those kind of coloured, oh, apologies for the wind there. Maybe that is a storm coming in. Making use of those coloured rocks, and there's a lovely bit of sea kelp just lying kind of curved up against the rock, sort of half submerged. So I'm using a polarizer just to take some of that glare off the scene. Oh, but the light out on the horizon, isn't that just typical? That is looking rather nice now. Now, one of the benefits of that weather system kind of moving through and a little bit of that sort of lovely sort of pink cloud is there's a little bit of reflective light windy coming into the scene, which actually sort of lifts it a little bit. I stuck to my guns. I was so tempted. Now it looks like that has now been that light that was in behind the stack has now been snuffed out. But yeah, I stuck to my guns because I could tell that just that little bit of reflective light was going to sort of lift the scene. So I've done a focus stack, I think maybe 4 or 5, and where I've been focusing on that focus stack is obviously there's different with those curves in the rocks, and obviously where the kelp is in the water, it kind of sort of dips down. So trying to sort of think all of the little different levels of the focus plane and kind of focusing on those. And obviously I'll blend those in post, and then a polarizer just to take some of the sheen off the water. But I quite like that, and that little bit of light that was kind of being reflected into the scene has now been snuffed out. So that's one image, and I'm pleased that I stuck to my guns. I was so tempted to kind of go wide, but I knew what would happen. I would rush and I would end up with an image that just was meh. So good little exercise in patience as well. Chance I might get wet. Something tells me rain is going to stop play, at least for the foreseeable. In fact, it's like a pretty dark, ominous rain coming, so that may actually be it for the morning. One image. I guess those are the fun times with landscape photography. I think I'm going to get really, really wet, so I'm going to put you away, and it might be time to wander back to the van. Oh, fun times. Oh yeah. I knew I was going to get wet. Oh, and I've still got pebbles in my shoes.